Now, I keep trying to tell you guys that there are Democrats out there that are good people. I do genuinely believe that a lot of people who are on the left are good people that are blinded to what is going on, either through willful blindness or just because they haven't had that moment where they see something that triggers them to wake up just yet. I do really, really believe that there is so much potential to wake people up on the left to what is going on. I think every single day that Joe Biden is in office, more people are going to be waking up. I think every single day that this COVID stuff goes on, more people are going to be waking up. And it's incumbent upon us to allow them the space to open up, to give them a place to go, to be there when their head is full of cognitive dissonance and they don't know what's what. And it's so confusing. And it's honestly a really scary thing to wake up when you're going through that process. It can take weeks, it can take months. For me, it took about 6 months and I was thinking about it a lot. I actually think that that's probably a pretty quick process to go through, to leave something that is the only thing you've ever known your entire life. I mean, I was a Democrat for 20 years, man. It was the only thing I knew my entire life. It took me months to process what I was seeing and to finally hit that point where I had had enough. But there are still good people out there. We can look at Kristen Sinema in Arizona. Kristen Sinema's awesome. Awesome. We can look at Tulsi Gabbard. And now we can look at the mayor of Boston, who declared that she ain't gonna mandate nothing because it's akin to slavery, of all things. Of all things. Now, some people may have found this to be a surprise, but I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't. And the reason I'm honest is a little unorthodox. Some of you are really offended by it, but every single Tuesday night on this channel, I have a psychic on the channel. His name is Joshua. He is my life coach in real life. He is freakishly accurate with his predictions, and we do a show every single Tuesday on this channel called Nothing Remotely Controversial. We do it at 9:30 p.m. at night, and actually, last night on the show, Joshua was asked about mandates and if they would be mandating things in Massachusetts specifically, and this was Joshua's prediction on the topic. All right, Nastia wants to know, will Massachusetts mandate vaccine passports? I sure as shit hope not. We were just there last week.
I know. Will Mass mandate vaccine passports?
Yeah.
And tell me when to stop shuffling.
Stop.
Death. Balance the world. So I think number one, they're gonna try. It's a big boundary issue with the death card. With the two of discs, we're talking about there being like a balance, right? So it's sort of like, I think that they're gonna probably impose it in some areas, but not to the extent that they probably are in New York. And with the world, yeah, it's like the closing of a matter. So I think it's going to be more on like a case-by-case basis, or it's going to be left up to like the individual corporations, companies, or they might be like, for shows, yes, or if you're going to have an event with this many people, yes, but not necessarily restaurants. There'll be a balance. It won't be as bad as New York, is my guess.
All right. Yeah. Fair enough. All right, and there we have it. Joshua predicted it wasn't going to be as bad as New York, and now we have this article in Breitbart today. Boston's acting mayor, Kim, is sending a strong signal that her city will not enact a coronavirus vaccine mandate akin to New York City, seemingly comparing the measure to slavery. The New York Post reports that she says such a requirement will have a disparate impact on minorities. Janie, the first woman and Black Bostonian to hold the office, says there's a long history in the United States of people needing to show their papers. When asked Tuesday about a mandate unveiled earlier in the day by Mayor Bill de Blasio that requires proof of vaccination to enter indoor restaurants, entertainment venues, and gyms starting on September 13th, during slavery, post-slavery, as recent as, what the immigrant population has to go through here. We've heard Trump with the birth certificate nonsense. So, let's just overlook that for a second. Let's just overlook it. Here, we want to make sure that we are not doing anything that would further create a barrier for residents of Boston or disproportionately impact by BIPOC communities. And that brings up an interesting question, doesn't it? Because my understanding is that Bill de Blasio's mandate in New York City is absolutely going to disparately impact Black communities, because apparently African Americans are more vaccine skeptical than the average bears and are not getting vaccinated at the rate people want them to get vaccinated at. And so we can actually say that Bill de Blasio's policy in New York City might be a little bit racist, because it is going to disproportionately impact African Americans in New York City. What would Rex Kendi say about that? I would say if there are racial disparities in the impact of policies, that might be a little bit racist. Certainly not anti-racist by, the definition that Kendi has anyway. Janie's remarks were met with criticism, namely from Boston City Councilor Andrea Campbell, who called the acting mayor's remarks dangerous. Andrea, little racist. Oh my God, how dare you? Janie later responded to Campbell's comment in a statement in the Boston Globe. What I said was that there is a long history of asking people to show their papers. What our focus here in Boston is making sure everyone has the vaccine, making sure we're doing everything to vaccinate our workforce in the city of Boston, making sure that our residents have access to the vaccine. Earlier today, I pointed out several hurdles facing communities of color with lower vaccination rates, the acting mayor continued. These hurdles should not be excuses, but we must consider our shared history as we work to ensure an equitable public health and economic recovery. So it seems to me that the equitable thing to do in the case of New York City and Bill de Blasio might be not to mandate anything, because you're going to have disparate outcomes in the African American community. Listen, guys, don't ever have any problem in using the woke's language against them. They're the ones that started this war. We are the ones that get to finish it. But I've got some good news, because, it seems like Boston's going to be okay. I was actually just in Boston a week ago having lunch with Joshua. Everything was fine, although there were a lot of people walking down the sidewalks in the middle of the day wearing masks, which was a little bit weird. I haven't seen that in any other place except Los Angeles. But whatever, there are a lot of rich liberals in Boston. What can you do about it? But what I will tell you is that this is not coming to my home state of New Hampshire, because Chris Sununu may have been forced to sign a bill into law to that effect in the Granite Grok. This was last week. Friday, New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu signed HB 220, an act relative to medical freedom in immunizations. The new law states every person has the natural, essential, and inherent right to bodily integrity, free from any threat or compulsion by government to accept an immunization. Accordingly, no person may be compelled to receive an immunization for COVID-19 in order to secure, receive, or access any public facility, any public benefit, or any public service from the state of New Hampshire or any political subdivision thereof, including but not limited to counties, cities, towns, precincts, water districts, school administrative union, or quasi-public entities. To quote Representative Leah Cushman, who sponsored the legislation, it means no state-mandated COVID passports, no state-mandated vaccines. The new law says that the state cannot mandate vaccines, nor can state government set rules to participate in society based on an individual New Hampshire citizen's private medical status. The new law puts states' practices into alignment with the recently passed New Hampshire constitutional amendment, an individual's right to live free from government intrusion in private or personal information is natural, essential, and inherent. Who's ready to move to the free state of New Hampshire? Who's ready to move yet? Well, I just want to do this little fun update. I thought it was a little ironic about the language that the Boston mayor chose to use on this one. But hey, man, listen, if we need to frame something in woke, let's frame it in woke. Let's use the woke's definitions against them. That's totally okay. It's totally within the bounds. And sometimes it can lead you to the goal that you want. Listen, as long as you're hitting the goal that you want, get there by any means necessary. Use the woke's own tactics against them when it means achieving a desired goal. That's all I've got for right now. I'll see you soon.